Hey everyone, my name is Jason Strand, and I'm the senior pastor at Brook Church, which is located in the Twin Cities. And like many of you, I have been following the tragic death of George Floyd, which took place in Minneapolis a few days ago. As a leader of the church here, I felt compelled to address this issue. I felt compelled to talk about something that I think each of us should care about deeply. You know, when I'm arguing with my son, it's not like we do this all the time, but when I'm arguing with him over something like screen time, and we're going back and forth, and my wife walks into the room, I want her to have my back. I don't want her to stand there silently. I sort of want her to jump in and speak up and take my side and show my son that, hey, we both believe this. This isn't just me versus him. We're a united front. At the 2018 Martin Luther King 50 conference, Pastor Charlie Date said this. He said, believers of color want their brothers and sisters to call out the injustice around them. They want to stand in unity in rebuking a wayward culture. That quote reminded me of another quote by Dr. Martin Luther King. In his Birmingham jail address, he said this. He said, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I need to confess that I have been that silent friend. And I'm sorry. I believe that racism is wrong. I always have. I always will. I'm guessing that most of you would say the same. But what does it mean to stand in unity with believers of color in rebuking a wayward culture? What does it mean to be more than a silent friend? On Monday, a man named George Floyd was killed after a police officer pressed a knee down on his neck for what seemed to be 5 or 10 minutes. And I could hardly watch the video. It was so gruesome. That is the only word I can think of. It was gruesome. I couldn't sleep after watching it. It was so disturbing to me. Now, I want to say right on the front end that to me, this is not about police officers. I think our society is missing the problem. It's not police officers, it's all of us. The police officers I know personally went into that profession because they wanted to protect people. They love God, they love people, and they have a heart for justice. And so I just want to know, can we oppose racial injustice on the one hand and thank police officers for risking their lives on the other? I don't want to choose. I want to support both police officers and I want to speak out against racial injustice. And I think we can do both. You do not fight for justice with more injustice. You do not fight prejudice with more prejudice against police officers or a different group. Let's make that real clear. But the greater question to me is this. Do we believe that every single human being is made in the image of God? Angels were not made in the image of God. Animals were not made in the image of God. Human beings carry in them the very image of our Creator. I want you to think about that for a moment. Every person who has or will walk on planet Earth carries the image of God within them. Not only that, but in the book of Revelation, John, who's a disciple of Jesus, he sees a vision of what heaven will be like. He says there's going to be people from every nation, every tribe, every people group, every language. And they're going to be standing before the throne, before the Lamb. He says every nation, every tribe, every people, every language. Last year I taught through that verse to our church. And in that message I said racism is evil. It is opposed to God's plan of saving people from every color, language, nation, and ethnicity. And I want to say that again. Racism is evil. It is opposed to God's plan to save people from every color, nation, and ethnicity. But I wonder if I have been naive about how much racism exists in our country. For years, I have thought it was just a select few. And while I still choose to believe the very best in people, I still hope it's a few. More and more every day, I realize racism still exists. Now, you might say, yeah, but all that's in the past. We're much better today than we were in the 40s and 50s. And I've read enough Jackie Robinson biographies and other historical things to be very grateful for the progress that has taken place. But there is a shadow of racism hanging over our country. It's not going away. There's an economic shadow of generational wealth that has been passed down in white families and not blacks. There's a shadow of a racialized society that still has mostly black neighborhoods or white neighborhoods. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. famously said that 11 o'clock is the most segregated hour of the week. That is the church hour. I might add that 6 o'clock dinner table isn't much better. The dividing line on all this is not liberal and conservative. The dividing line is those who care about the problem and those who don't. So where do we go from here? I don't think social media posts are the answer. I'm not against those, but I have very little faith that they move the needle. I don't even think that videos like this are necessarily the answer. But I just want to suggest a few ways to start. These are not going to solve the problem, but they are a start. First, pray. I know some people scoff at that. They go, we don't need more prayer, we need action. Prayers and thoughts don't do anything. Thoughts don't, but prayer does. 2 Chronicles 7:14, God says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and I will heal their land. Friends, we need God to heal our land. Clearly, we can't do this on our own. We have tried and we have failed. We need God. We need to humble ourselves and turn our face towards heaven. Would you join me in asking God to heal our land? Sometimes it helps me to have a Bible verse that I pray. And so I've just started to pray Amos 5:24. Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. That is my prayer. God, let justice roll down. Second, let's teach our kids that every human being is made in the image of God. Maybe my generation has failed, but my hope is that my sons and my daughter's generation will not fail. What if every parent in our church had a dinner table discussion to teach our kids that every person, no matter the color of their skin, no matter what disability or difference they might have, is made in the image of God? What if we taught that heaven is going to be comprised of every nation, tribe, and tongue, and that's God's plan? There's an old saying, the ground is level at the cross. We are one race, human beings. We are made in one image, God's. We have one problem, it's sin. And there is one Savior. His name is Jesus. Finally, carry someone's burden. Galatians 6:2 says, carry one another's burdens. Part of that is learning what the burdens are. As a white person, do I know the burden that blacks or other people of color carry? Fear. They carry that burden. They carry suspicion. They carry anger. I made a few phone calls this week and I said, what burden are you carrying right now? Do you know the burden that police officers carry? Stress, fear, life-threatening situations, they carry burdens as well. I want our church to be burden carriers more than agenda pushers. Change will happen when we're less concerned with pushing an agenda and more concerned with carrying a burden. Change will happen when we are more than a silent friend. I love a song called Living Hope. And the lyrics say, how great the chasm that lay between us. How high the mountain I could not climb. Friends, there's a chasm between us. There's a chasm between us and God, and there's a chasm right now that exists between one another, and it is a mountain that we cannot climb on our own. The song goes on to say, in desperation, I turned to heaven, and I spoke your name into the night. Then through the darkness, his loving kindness tore through the shadows of my soul. The song concludes, the work is finished, the end is written. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Jesus Christ is our living hope. Jesus Christ is our only hope. hope.
How great the chasm that lay between us, how high the mountain I could not climb. In desperation, I turned to heaven and spoke your name into the night. Then through the darkness, your loving kindness tore through the shadows of my soul. The work is finished, the end is written. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Who could imagine so great a mercy, when I could fathom such boundless grace? The God of ages stepped down from glory to wear my sin and bear my shame. The cross has spoken, I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own. Beautiful Savior, I'm yours forever. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Come on, can we join and sing that together today? Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on. 'Cause this is why it's true. For Jesus, yours is the victory. Oh, Give us a heart of compassion. ministry, a heart to love, to serve our neighbors, your daughters and sons. Jesus, we call on your name today for our city, our nation, and state.